Hi BookTube! My name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with a weekly reads video. This is for September the 5th through September 11th. Today is Sunday, it is September the 11th. Happy Sunday everyone. So I'm sitting down here to do this video. I think I'm actually going to post it today. As of filming this I haven't decided, but I'm probably going to post it today. If I'm filming it today, can edit it today, get it posted, that would be great. It is later on in the afternoon. I normally film my videos earlier in the morning, just to kind of get them out of the way, and then it leaves me time to do editing. But today's a bit of a lazy Sunday, so why the heck not? Anyway, and I do have the ability now to film some videos during the week because I have time in the morning, which is great. So that's helped instead of me having to film like everything on a Sunday. I can really just sit down and kind of do this video. So, a lot to talk about in this video. I finished 5 books this week, but there are 6 books that I'm actually going to talk about. The reason for that is because I was looking at the 5 books that I finished this week, and 3 of those books were Harlequin anticipated reads for the vlog that I would be doing that would come out on the 1st of October. So I'd read all these books kind of behind the scenes, if you will, throughout the month of September, and then post that vlog of all these new books that are being released on October 1st. And then I thought, well, that leaves me with just 2 books to talk about this week. And I'm like, that seems kind of silly. Let's just talk about all of them and we'll just dismantle that vlog. I'd rather do it this way. The more I thought about it, I'm like, this makes more sense for me to share them as I read them because they all come out at the end. They're released. I'll talk about so what happens is with the Harlequin, with these books, they actually have a release date of October, but I am able to read them in September, not because I got advanced copies of them. A couple of them I actually did, but the bulk of them I did not. But the great thing is that the Harlequin website, and I've talked about this before, so if you've heard this before, I apologize for repeating myself. They release their books a month ahead. So if you buy your books from harlequin.com, you can buy either the ebook or the print book in advance, like a month early to the release date, which is kind of spectacular. But if you are someone who prefers to do your shopping at your big box store, Amazon, or what have you, you would have to wait until it's sometime in the September 27th. I think September 27th is the date that all these are, the last Tuesday of the month is when they will all be released. So you can go ahead and buy them then. But if that's what you choose to do, at least I'm sharing them with you right now. And if you want, you can pre-order them because pre-ordering always helps authors. And I'm a big fan of doing so if you can. So, yeah. So that's how I'm kind of reading these in advance. And you know, I think it's a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. And my goal is to read 1 book from each of the lines coming out in the next month. And so far, you guys, I have read 4 of the 11th. So, and today's only the 11th. So I'm very well on track for reading all of them this month, which will be fantastic. So anyway, wanted to share that with you guys, that's one thing that's changed. So even though I only read 5 books, like I said, I'm going to talk about 6 because I'm going to talk about the one that I glossed over in my last weekly reads video that I was supposed to be holding back until October. So 6 books are going to be shared with you. After that, I'm going to be sharing with you what I'm currently reading. And then I'm going to share a very small book haul. I got some great book mail from an author. I'm very excited. And what else? The stuff that you can find coming up on the channel later this week, and some crafting stuff, because I haven't shown you guys that in forever, and I'm the Bookish Knitter, like, you know, and I'll probably throw some life stuff in there too. Nothing much has been going on, but let's jump into the book reviews. So there will be timestamps in the description box below if you guys want to jump ahead to any point in this video, any of the individual reviews, what have you, go ahead. That's why I put them there. So the first book I want to share with you is the one that I finished last week that I glossed over, and that was Snowbound with the Rancher by Kit Hawthorne. And this was book number 5 in the Truly Texas series. Like I said, this has an October 2022 release date, so it comes out September 27th. And this is a Harlequin heartwarming novel. This is the story of Macy and Dirk. And this was really cute. So I have not read any of the other ones in this series, but this one read completely as a standalone. You do run across some other characters. I think it's Dirk's cousin or neighbor. No, it's his neighbor, like in his ranch neighbors onto this other guy named Alex's ranch. And Alex, I'm sure, is from a previous book. So you just kind of meet them in passing. It's not like you had to know Alex's whole story to understand the fact that these 2 guys are neighbors. Do you know what I mean? So The plot of this story is that Dirk is a rancher, and he's had a really, really tough last couple of years. This is going to sound like a country song, but his grandfather passed away, his dog died, his wife left him. It's been a bad year. So he's back living at the family ranch, and he was always running the ranch, but while he was married to his ex-wife, he was living in town, and she kicked him out, changed the law, because it was a whole thing. And anyway, he's back at living at this ranch, and he's carrying a grudge. There is a neighboring ranch that had been like abandoned for years, and all the other ranchers in the neighborhood, in the area, were kind of taking plots, like not stealing, but kind of using some of that land to graze their cattle and things like that. And then the family came in and sold the land off to all these new people. And he's got kind of an issue, to be polite, about these new people moving into the neighborhood. That all these plots of land have all been divided up, and they are people who have never experienced, Texas, what it's like to have a ranch, what it's like to, these are city folk, and he doesn't like them. And at the very beginning of the book, he meets Macy, and she is having an open air fire outside. She's burning letters from her ex, very cathartic. And, he's like, did you know that there's like a burn ban? And she's like, no, I did not. But they have like a little back and forth. They decide they don't like each other. So this is kind of an enemies to lovers situation. So anyway, stuff ends up happening. Dirk ends up actually getting injured trying to rescue her dog, and she takes care of him. It takes place over Christmas, if you cannot tell from the cover. This one does feature Christmas quite a bit, but it's not like the small town Christmas stories that we're used to in contemporary romance, where you're getting the Christmas fair and you're getting all these other things. This is literally just a very small, just at her home, nonchalant, hey, it's Christmas, this is great kind of a scenario, and it kind of gives you a very nice feeling. I really liked it. I thought it was really cute. Dirk and Macy end up, of course, starting a relationship. This is a heartwarming novel, so there is absolutely zero adult content in this one. The most you're getting out of this is a couple of chaste kisses. That's about it. Even though they're living under the same roof together for a number of days, nothing happens. So for those of you who are more on the sweet side of your romance, this is definitely one you might want to check out. And I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I absolutely recommend it. It was really cute. So then the first book that I finished this week, speaking of Christmas, I feel like I'm reading like all the Christmas books. I read Stuck on You by Portia MacIntosh. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This was my wheel spin for a couple of weeks ago, which was a book set in winter. And this is the story of Sadie and Damien. So at first I thought the story sounded super, super cute. So I gave it 3.5 stars. And it was about this girl named Sadie, who she is working for this very, very famous photographer named Damien. And he does portraits, like that's kind of what he's known for, these portrait photographs. But they're very edgy, like, homeless people or prostitutes or, stuff like that. These are not your family photos portrait photographer. And she's working for him, though, because he's a very, very big name. This takes place in London. And her and him have a friendship, but she's his assistant, so she kind of does everything for him. At the beginning of the book, she's breaking up with a woman for him. He's kind of a jerk. So the one thing that kind of keeps her sane and keeps her grounded at this job is the fact that from the day that she started, she's been getting these notes, these post-it notes, from this guy named Adam, who she shares an office with, but they've never met each other. So in a way, it sounds like The Flat Share by, I don't remember who wrote The Flat Share. I haven't read it, but I've heard enough about it to kind of know that it's about two people who share the same flat. But this is like they hot desk. So they share the same desk, and the days that she's in are the days that he's not in. So they kind of have this relationship going back and forth, and they have for like the year that Sadie has worked for Damien. So this happens like leading up to Christmas, and then over Christmas, I kind of saw exactly where it was going with these notes and this Adam person and stuff like that. So it was cute. It was fine. I mean, I didn't love it. 3.5 stars is pretty decent. There's this part in the middle where Damien wants to photograph this like guy who might be a serial killer. He did some Netflix type show where he's been married 4 times now, 4 times. But his first three wives mysteriously died. So Damien's like, I gotta photograph this guy because he sounds crazy. So the guy's like, oh, you can photograph me if you come to my daughter's wedding and photograph my daughter's wedding. So there was that whole part in the book, and I'm like, what is this? Like, it just didn't, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, if you'd taken that completely out of the story would have read the same going through as far as I'm concerned. But Damien ends up spending Christmas with Sadie and her family, and then Sadie ends up spending some time with Damien and his family, and of course there's a relationship there, and I don't want to give too much away because of this Adam character. So yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited, so if you guys want to check it out, I highly not highly, but I recommend that you do. If you're looking for a fun Christmas read, this one does get a little spicy, and there is some, as the lovely Elizabeth over at Lizzie Fay Loves Books would say, there is some foul language in this one. So yeah, but I mean, it was an enjoyable enough read. And I did listen to a little bit of it on audio. I haven't fully listened to an audiobook from start to finish, but this one I was able to borrow from Hoopla. And a couple nights I was doing some knitting, and I just kind of felt like popping in an audiobook. So I listened to this one for a little bit on audio when I was doing reading sprints and stuff like that. So that was really enjoyable. The narration on it was really good. Sorry, I don't remember who the narrator was. I maybe listened to 2 hours of it on audio, like sped up 2 hours. So maybe like an hour. I don't know. Anyway, the next book that I finished was yet another Christmas book, you guys. We have Christmas Hostage by Sharon Dunn. I gave this book 4 stars. This is a anticipated read from Harlequin as well. September 27th release date. This is a love-inspired suspense novel, which is faith-based romance, or inspirational suspense. Yeah, inspirational romantic suspense. We can say that. So this is the story of Laura and Hollis. So Laura is working at this bank, and she's working at this bank, and she's kind of a securities expert through the computer, like through computer security and things like that. So there's been all of these robberies that have been happening in these small towns, and Laura's at this small bank to kind of, beef up their system, if you will. And while she's there on her very first day, robbers rob the bank, and they take Laura hostage. Hence the title of the novel. This also takes place at Christmas time. So Hollis is actually infiltrated the gang. He's an FBI agent. I think he's FBI. Something like that. And he has infiltrated the gang, and he's trying to keep Laura safe. So a good part of this book is the two of them on the run, like from this gang. Like, he ends up getting shot during the robbery, and she pretends that she knows what she's doing in terms of first aid just to keep her alive, because they were just going to kill her because she saw who they were. And, they're like, okay, we kind of need her for now. And then her and Hollis escape. And it's this whole thing where they're like running from these guys. There's car explosions. There's like break-ins. There was a lot of action in this book, you guys. Now, as I said, this is a faith-based story. So God and, Christianity plays a big part in this. Hollis is a firm believer in prayer and in all those things, which is great. Laura, though, is questioning her faith. And there's usually one character in these books that do tend to question their faith. And in this instance, it's Laura. And, it kind of works very well with the Christmas season. However, in my opinion, this is not a Christmas book. You guys know, if you've been watching me for a while, I will point it out when I need to point it out. Whether a book is labeled Christmas just for the sole fact that it takes place during Christmas. There is no Christmas in this book, really. Other than the fact, like, there's one scene where they're in the hospital, and Laura's kind of noticing the Christmas decorations. They turn on the radio, and there's some Christmas tunes playing. This is not a Christmas story. Christmas is not... You could have set this at any other time of the year, and the story still would have played out exactly the same. Nothing would have changed. Except for maybe some of the faith-based parts of it, with Laura questioning her faith and, the birth of Jesus at Christmas and all the things. So anyway, yeah. And of course, you guys know, again, if you've been watching me for a while, this is not necessarily something that's my own personal beliefs, but I read it for what it is. And I thought it was a lovely story. I really did. No matter what your faith is, the fact that, she was in a very, very frightening situation, and she needed something to hold on to. And, you know, something like Hollis was that person, but something bigger. Does that make sense? So anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. The next one that I finished was An Ex to Remember by Jessica Lemmon. This book I also gave 4 stars to. This is book number 6 in the Texas Cattlemen's Club Ranchers and Rivals series. I have not read any of the other previous books in this series, but I did read this one. And this also has the release date of September 27th. This is, of course, a Harlequin desire novel. So these are a little bit higher on the spice meter. So this one was really good. It, like I said, book 6 in this Texas Cattlemen's Club series. So the Texas Cattlemen's Club is a really long-running series from Harlequin. Through the Desire line for many, many, many years. Brenda Jackson is one that really stands out for me as an author who writes these books. So these series, the Texas Cattlemen's Club, every year I think they release a new mini-series. So the Texas Cattlemen's Club is like the umbrella, and then coming up underneath it are all these individual other series. The Montana Mavericks is very similar, the Coltons is very similar, but this one is called, what did I say, Ranchers and Rivals. So they always kind of have a theme, right? So these are clearly all ranchers type books. And what happens with these is that these are continuity. So there's usually a Bible that is put together by the team at Harlequin saying, these are all the books that we're going to release. These are the authors that are going to write the books. And they kind of go to the author. So they went to Jessica Lemmon and said, here's your characters. Here's what's going to happen. Write us the story. And she did. And she delivered because it was really good. So this is the story of Aubrey and Vic. And they were high school sweethearts. They dated all through high school. And then she went off to college and she wanted to be a teacher. And Vic was going to take over the family ranch, which was worth megabucks, big, big money. He is the 3rd generation, rancher. He has actually an older sister, and his older sister's not too happy about the fact that Vic is taking over the ranch when in fact she's the eldest. So technically it should go to her, but because Vic is the first boy, blah, 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 blah. So there's that whole patriarchal kind of thing going on as well with Vic and his sister. That I think is played out in another book as well, but I'm not absolutely certain because this is only the first one of the series that I've read. But again, I was able to read it as it was. So what ends up happening at the beginning of this book is that Aubrey and Vic meet up at this bar. Not meet up on purpose, but he's at the bar. She shows up to pick up a snack of some kind. And he's like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. Let me buy you a drink. So he buys her a drink. They have a chat. And he's like, you know what? For old time's sake, why don't you come back to my place? And she does. So the next day, she is hosting or giving the winner for this chili cook-off. It's Texas, you guys. It's Texas. And and the stage collapses underneath her, and she ends up hitting her head pretty badly and gets amnesia. So she doesn't remember the last 10 years. She remembers that she went to school to be a teacher. She knows that she's a teacher. She knows who her parents are. She can't recall what her apartment looks like. She can't recall. She knows she has friends, but she doesn't know exactly where from. But she thinks that she is still with Vic. She doesn't know about their breakup, which was a pretty brutal breakup. The stuff that they said to each other, they do play that scene out in the book. They go back, to that point and play that scene out. So I don't want to give it away because, they kind of allude to it as you're reading the story that he said something that was pretty not so great. And she kind of flung the ring back in his face and told him where he could shove it. And they went on their merry way. So her doctor, which questioning this woman's medical background, suggested that they go along with the fact that her and Vic are together. And of course he's trying, it's a second chance romance. So he's trying again to get back into her good graces. But as far as she knows, they've always been together. And then finally he realizes he can't keep this up anymore and tells her the truth in the story. You know what I mean? Anyway, it was really good. This one was really spicy as well, of course, because it is a desire novel. But I really liked it. I like the characters of Aubrey and Vic. I liked the relationship that Vic had with his sisters and his family. I thought that was really great. Yeah, this was just a really fun, quick read. And I enjoyed it. And I absolutely recommend it. Next one I finished was Sweet Home Alaska by Jennifer Snow. This one I gave 3.5 stars to. It is the first book in the Wild Coast series. Thank you very much to NetGalley and Harlequin for sending me an e-arc copy of this book to read and review. And this is the story of Skylar and Dex. So last week I read the prequel novella to this series, and we do see the character of Rachel appearing in this book. You don't have to have read the prequel novella. It's actually contained within this book. If you pick up this book either digitally or physically, you will get that novella that I read separately. So that's fine. You can read it afterward, before, it really doesn't matter. So like I said, this is the story of Skylar and Vic. And this story, guys, I gave it 3.5 stars for a number of reasons. I love Jennifer Snow's writing. I think she's absolutely fantastic. I love the setting for this. Serenity Harbor, I think, is the town name in Alaska. And I am, like, Alaska's a buzzword for me when it comes to books. You guys know this. If a book is set in Alaska, I want to read it. And I love that. I love the secondary characters in this story. The plot was a typical second chance romance. What I didn't love were Skylar and Dex. I'm sorry. I did not love the main characters at all. Both of them. So when they were younger, the whole point of this like town is that there's these two families. The Beaumonts, which is Skylar's family, have always kind of been the to serve and protect kind of scenario. They're in the Coast Guard. And what I did like about Skylar is that she's a Coast Guard captain, which I thought was pretty freaking awesome. And I really, really like that. So her father was a Coast Guard. Her grandfather was a Coast Guard. So they've always kind of like protected the town because they're right on the water and blah, blah, blah. And then there's the family of the Wakefields, which is Dex's family. And they kind of turn this town using their money because they have a lot of money. And the town also made them a lot more money, turning it into kind of a tourist attraction with this under the sea, like, creature that supposedly saves fishermen and people out on boats in case, you know, something goes wrong. And they're kind of built around this mythology of this. And you learn a little bit of this in that prequel novella, but you don't have to know it going in. It's explained perfectly well in this book. So it's a warring it's a Romeo and Juliet, you know, we've seen this trope time and time again. So the issue is that when they were younger, they snuck around, which I totally understood because, you know, their families didn't get along, blah, blah, blah. And then what happens is that they were both going to join the Coast Guard together, like go to the academy together. And then 2 or 3 weeks before graduation, Dex is like, no, I've changed my mind and we're breaking up. You don't find out as the reader until more than halfway through the book why Dex did that. And in my opinion, it was a little stupid. And I'm not saying what happened to him was stupid. I thought that what happened to him was very sad, and it was, you know, it's obviously a life-changing thing. I don't want to give it away. But the fact that he didn't tell anybody, it's a medical issue. That's all I'm going to say. It's a medical issue. Why you wouldn't share that? What? Anyway, it's a thing. So, he couldn't join the Coast Guard. So she went off and she did her thing. And now she's back in town because she has been hired to be the captain of a ship back in her hometown. She's actually working with her father, which I can imagine would be a pain. And the father, I mean, he was a typical, it seemed very sweet to me, but I can understand why Skylar was a little like, Dad, cool your jets. Like, he's like taking pictures of her on the first day, like, oh, my little girl's first day at work, and jumping in and doing things that she can very well do herself, you know, and kind of undermining her authority with some of the other people who are on the ship. So I kind of get it, right? But I just love the fact that the dad was just so proud of her, and it just, that I thought was very, very sweet. But he needed to take it down a few pegs. So the whole thing is that the two of them meet back up again, and then they start sneaking around again. I'm like, guys, you're in your late 20s. What are you doing? Like, it just seemed childish. And I think that was the biggest thing with these two characters, that they seemed so childish to me. Like, why are you doing this? Like, it doesn't make, nobody cares. I'm telling you, everyone's got their own crap that they're dealing with. They don't care what you're doing. Yeah, the town gossips may do this, but whatever. Grow up. That and, you know, the whole thing with Dex not, even while they were having this relationship, he didn't tell her about his medical condition, and it's very serious. Okay, I might as well just tell you guys. He has epilepsy. So there's a scene in the book where the two of them are out hiking to this waterfall. He didn't tell her. What if he had a seizure? What if he had a seizure? She wouldn't know what to do. She wouldn't know what's going on. Like, you know, if she knew, at least she'd be able to know exactly what to do to help him. And it just, these two characters, like, and again, I gave it 3.5 stars because outside of them being completely childish, I love this book. Now, this book goes way up there on the spice meter, you guys. Holy cow. I forgot how spicy Jennifer Snow writes her books. And there was a couple of love scenes in here that kind of made me go, is that, can that be done? Really? Okay, sure, whatever. It was like, but anyway, it was good. And I am going to continue on with the series. The next book in the series is Jex's sister, and I'm really looking forward to reading her book. Because I really liked her as a character in this book. So yeah, I mean, am I saying read it with a grain of salt? Like, understand that I felt the characters were childish. Your mileage may vary, as they say. But yeah, that was my thoughts on that one. And then the last book that I just finished this morning was Reunion at Greystone Manor by Bonnie Vanak. I gave this book 4 stars as well. This seemed to be the 4-star week, didn't it, you guys? And this also has a release date of September 27th, and this is a Harlequin romantic suspense. This is the story of Meghan and Rourke. So this is a standalone novel, and I really liked it. This one was a lot of fun. Kind of had a haunted house type vibe. I mean, if you can tell from the cover of the book. So essentially, this is the story, like I said, of Rourke and Meghan. And the two of them, it's another second chance romance. This also seemed to be the week of second chance romances. And the two of them were in a relationship in high school. He was kind of the town bad boy. She was the daughter of a local professor, and this takes place in Michigan, in a very small town in Michigan. Michigan. And anyway, it's like something happens, and then he is told, like, he's like, I'm out of here. Her father's like, you can't be together anymore. And he's like, fine, I'm leaving. And he says to her, wait for me, you know, when I get out of the army, because that's what he was going to go do, is join the army, which he did. Was it the army or the Navy? He joined one of them. Was he a SEAL? I don't think he was a Navy SEAL. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He joined the military, and he served his time, but now he's actually working for the FBI. So they've been apart for about 10 years. And they both get these letters that this woman named Livy, who was actually Rourke's great aunt, passed away. And when she passed away very recently, within the last month or so. She left him her house, this big manor that you see on the cover of the book, Greystone Manor. And he left Meghan all of the contents. She was a very eclectic woman. She traveled extensively, had a lot of money. Supposedly there's a treasure hidden inside this house. So the two of them are kind of on the hunt for this treasure. So I really like this book a lot, you guys. But the thing that I took away from this is not, I don't think, what the author's intention was. As a Canadian, where we have universal health care, I'm not going to debate the merits, whether it's a good or a bad thing. It has saved my life because, believe me, with the amount of times I've ended up in hospital and not having to pay out of pocket for a pre-existing condition, it's kind of a godsend. Again, saved my life. Again, I'm not here to debate the merits. But in this book, Rourke has a step-niece. Like, it's his stepbrother's niece, or his stepbrother's daughter. So his step-niece. I would just say niece. Is dying because she needs a kidney transplant. And the fact is that the parents cannot afford the transplant. And throughout this whole book, every time it was brought up, I just got angrier and angrier, thinking, how could you potentially let a little girl die because you can't afford an operation? Like, again, the American medical system just, my mind. So, again, I don't think this is what the author intended on me taking away from this book. But that really kind of irked me throughout the story. That had nothing to do with the book or the characters or the story or anything. It was just a side part in the back. Also, Meghan's father died recently of cancer, and the treatments wiped out their savings. So she was losing the store and apartment that she lived at because she couldn't pay the rent. Because, again, their savings were gone thanks to cancer treatments. So, again, the American medical system. Anyway, I don't understand. So, anyway, besides that, sorry for going on that slight tangent, but I had to mention it because it drove me crazy. This was a really great story. So there's, like, weird things happening at the house. There is potentially somebody breaking in. There's this creepy tunnel that goes to the mausoleum. You know, there's this little dog that they found that actually belonged to the aunt, the great aunt, named Rigger. His actual full name is Rigor Mortis, which is just creepy to the extreme, and I kind of loved it. And the romance between Rourke and Meghan was good. I wasn't like 100. I was way more invested in the actual story itself and into what was happening than their romance, which is odd because with the romantic suspense novels, as I've mentioned before on my channel, that the romantic suspense novels tend to put the romance first and the actual relationship, or not the romance is first and then the actual mystery comes second. Whereas with the intrigue books, it's always the intrigue part, the mystery part first, and then oh, by the way, there's also a romance. But this one, I guess maybe it was the way the characters were written, that I just felt, what kept me reading this one was the mystery itself. So I can say that. And I really enjoyed it. So yeah. So anyway, guys, that is everything that I have read this week. Okay, that's a lot. I read a bunch of books this week, which was super fantastic. And I'm hoping to continue on that, doing so. So what am I currently reading? So right now, I am currently reading The Highland Fling by Meghan Quinn on my Kindle. This is a Kindle Unlimited book. I actually purchased this one not long ago because I love the cover so much. Next week when I finish it, you guys will see the full color cover up here. But it's like a bright green with this tartan print. It's a beautiful cover. It's very simple, but very well done. Anyway, so this is about two friends named Bonnie and Dakota who are American, and they fill out this like online application to run this small coffee shop in this small town in the Scottish Highlands for 6 months. So they end up going there and running this coffee shop, and Bonnie ends up meeting Rowan, who is our male lead. And of course, there's going to be a Highland Fling. I'm about 40% of the way through this. I'm pretty sure I've read Meghan Quinn before, but maybe not. I thought I had, but I don't think I have. I've been looking through my Goodreads and I haven't seen that I've read her yet. But I am still going back through and trying to repopulate everything into Goodreads since I dismantled my Goodreads down to ground zero and, trying to build it back up again. Oh, and side note, to my American friends, I do realize today is September 11th, so thoughts and prayers to anyone who was affected by September 11th. Didn't mean to say ground zero in that cavalier way. My apologies. So I haven't seen that I've read her before. So I'm not familiar with her work, but I understand that she's very spicy, and I can see that happening. She is very in your face. This is a very sexual book in terms of not just physical contact, if you will, between our characters, but the way they talk to each other as well. There's also a lot of swearing in this book, so be prepared. But I'm actually really enjoying it. Again, except for Bonnie. Unfortunately, Bonnie's kind of grating on my nerves a bit, but I'll get into that next week when I finish this one, because I am going to finish it, because I do enjoy it enough to finish it, and I'll talk about it then. And then the Harlequin book that I'm going to be picking up, the next one for my project, I'm flying through these ones really quickly, is actually going to be, let me just bring up the cover here, you guys. We have The Cowgirl and the Country MD, and this is by Catherine Mann. Is it Catherine Mann? Catherine Mann. So there's the cover. Is that cover not delightful? So this is a book in the Top Dog Dude Ranch series, I think. But what sold me on this book was the fact that, so she, I think, moves to town, and he's already there, and he's a pediatrician. And the children are his, sort of. They're his grandchildren. I had to read it like 3 times. I'm like, grandchildren? I love it. I haven't even started reading it yet, and I'm already loving it. So I will report back on this one next week for sure, you guys, and let you know my final thoughts on that one. So that's what I'm currently reading. And very quick little book haul, excuse me. Coffee. I've been talking for a little bit. And it's warm in here, you guys. Okay, so I received this in the mail from Geri Krotow. She is one of my very favorite authors. We have become friends on Instagram, and I'm so fortunate to have her as a friend. And her new book is coming out. What's the release date on this one? I think, oh gosh, I wish I had it written down. I'll put it right down here, the release date. She has written a ton for the romantic suspense line for Harlequin, but this is her first cozy mystery. And I'm so excited. It's called A Santa Stabbing, Shop Round the World, book number 1. Bestselling author Geri Krotow, signed by the author. Thank you so much. So, yay. Signed to me. I'm so excited. So yeah, like I said, I think this comes out in November, but don't quote me. I'm going to try and read it probably in November, because October is filled with a lot of like spooky Halloweenish type books. But I will get to this one definitely for the month it's released. But if you guys are cozy mystery fans, I would suggest pre-ordering this one anyway, because I can tell you, Geri Krotow is fantastic, and you will not be disappointed. So, yeah. She didn't realize she traded naval aviator for amateur sleuth. So, yeah. Oh, hold on. Does it say here on the back? No, it does not say on the back. But there's a little card that it came with. That's lovely, Geri. So, yeah. So, thank you, Geri, so much for sending this my way. I cannot wait to pick it up and read it. It's going to be fantastic. Like I said, I'm super excited. It's going to be fantastic. So anyway, you guys want to see some crafty stuff? Because I really haven't been crafting. So you guys know I have the second channel, the 14 count stitcher. I have not posted anything there in like a month, and that's because I really haven't been doing a lot of crafting. I haven't been doing enough crafting to show it over there. But I thought I'd show it to maybe you guys in case you cared. I mean, if you want to stick around and see, great. Thanks so much. But yeah, so I'm working on 2 things right now. This week I'm working on a pair of socks. So I'm knitting a pair of socks here. I'm on the heel. I'm knitting the heel right now, which is why the needles are a little wonky. But so that's the leg. And I'm doing the heel, and then I'm going to do the foot. So I started these like back in June. It's now September. My goal was to finish these by the end of the summer, and I've knit this much on one sock. So it has been busy at work, you guys. Super, super busy. So I'm going to put a little thing in here, and I'll denote where I was in terms of my my progress on that, in case you guys are interested. And then just let me try and bring up the full pattern so I can show you. I did start a new cross stitch pattern this month. I kind of start a new one every month, and it'd be kind of great if I actually finished one. But this one I had to start because it is Halloween themed, and I'm all about the fall and the Halloween right now, you guys. And it is called The Witch Next Door, and it is by Primrose Cottage Designs, and I absolutely love this pattern. Sorry, just let me make it bigger. So there's the pattern. So it's the witch's house, and the tree, there's a black cat, some pumpkins. So then you can see like her clothes are hanging on the line, and there she is. I love it so, so much. I think it's so cute. So I started this one. I've been working on it, and I haven't gotten super, super far on it, but I'd show you guys anyway. So my plan is to work on this during the week. So I've started the house. So this is the side of the house where the flag is, and then there's the tree over here, and then as you go this way is where the witch and stuff is going to be. So yeah, so I've got all my fabric kind of really bunched up on this one. But yeah, so I think I'm going to work on this a bit this afternoon when I'm probably editing this video. But yeah, I'll show you guys a little update next week. Like I said, with the 14 count stitcher, I'm not saying I'm not going to do another video. What I might do is maybe monthly updates over there of like everything. But I'll probably maybe just do little weekly updates here for you guys. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Life stuff, not very interesting. This was a pretty typical week. I feel good from being in the hospital last weekend, excuse me. The medication is doing its job, which is fantastic. So happy about that. I actually go to the hospital again tomorrow, Monday, just for my checkup. I had this booked anyway, so I actually see the doctor who will be performing the surgery that I have to have done again. And we're going to book a date for that. I think I mentioned to you guys, I'm going to try for the new year. Mainly because I don't want to be back in hospital this year. I don't want to do it. I only have so many days left for vacation because I took so much of it in February because I was off for that whole time with the surgery and having the pacemaker and all those things. So I kind of need a break. So yeah, so that's the only major thing that's going on this week. And of course, I did want to mention before I left, like the passing of Queen Elizabeth. So as a Canadian, part of the Commonwealth, she is a figurehead here. I can distinctly remember being a child, grade 1, grade 2, maybe grade 3. I don't think it went as far as grade 3, but singing God Save the Queen before we did the Canadian National Anthem in the morning at school. She's on our money. She's on our $20 bills. She's on all of our coins. And I don't know the monarchy without her in it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I can remember the Queen Mother as well. But Prince Charles, or not Prince Charles anymore, King Charles, it's going to take some getting used to saying that. And I mean, I'm not in the UK, so I don't know anybody's thoughts of the UK. And whatever your thoughts are on the monarchy or what have you, you know, they are kind of a big part of pop culture even, I guess. I hate saying that because they are people. But, you know, as humans, we're kind of fascinated with the idea of a royal family. I think especially as romance readers, like we read so many romances where it's a prince or a princess or whatever the case may be. And the fact is that this is a thing, like this is a real living, breathing monarchy. Now, you know, again, whatever your thoughts on them are your thoughts on them, but they have brought a lot of money into the UK. In terms of like travel and tourism and stuff like that. So, and I mean, I would love to go. I've never been to London. I want to go. It's on my bucket list. And I want to see Buckingham Palace. I want to see all the things, right? And yeah, so it's going to be, you know, I know a lot of people are taking this very difficult. And if you're one of those people, my thoughts are going out to you. And yeah, so I just want to kind of mention that at the end. But anyway, guys, that's it. I've rambled on far too long. I'm going to let you go. Coming up this week on the channel, on Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a video on the Gloss app, the app that Harlequin uses for all of their ebooks that you buy off of their website. This app right here. It's going to be a very quick video, kind of an overview, my likes, my dislikes, things like that. So in case you guys are kind of on the fence about using it. And then on Thursday, I'm starting a new series on the channel because I was going to put together my video for all of the books I got from publishers, like my ER copies, to go out this week, and there were 53 of them for the month of August alone. And I just realized I can't do that. I just can't do a video showing that many books because literally I'd be like, here's the next one, and I don't want to do that. I want to share with you guys a bit about the books as well and still not have the video be an hour and a half long. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do these weekly because I do get anywhere from 5 to 10 books a week from publishers, EARCs from NetGalley. So I thought if I did one of these videos every week, I could show you guys the books. You'll know when they're coming out. If they sound good to you, you can pre-order them or, you know, whatever the case may be. So kind of like a, you know, a new release book haul every week. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. My reading plans video will be out on Friday. I really need to catch up. I'm like 2 weeks behind. You know, I've been reading so many of these Harlequin books, which has been great. I've been loving it, but I need to get back to all the other books on my list as well. And yeah, so anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to let you go now. Take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.